Well, the week's over, there's a snowstorm outside, so what better timing to read a bad fan fiction? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the finale of Slowflake Reads Metroid High. For real this time. There's gonna be no more stalling. This is the last one. So today we're going to be reading the second one-shot that was written by 111 Samus Ridley Forever 2006, Tio-Wan Fusion. This was written after Metroid High. Now remember how she said she was retiring from writing fanfiction after Metroid High was done? Well, she lied! Of course! Because you can't expect a crappy fanfiction writer to stay true to their word and not rape what everything else likes for too long. So, I guess I should mention one other thing before I start. This was originally meant to be a full-blown fanfiction like Metroid High, but fortunately, for reasons unknown, she only ever got around to writing one chapter of this thing. So, I guess now it counts as a one-shot, even though, you know, the things that happen don't necessarily make sense because, well, for one, it's 111 Samus Ridley Forever 2006. She lives in a world where nothing makes sense. And second, well, it's only chapter 1 of what was supposed to be something bigger, so what do you expect? So, here we go. Let's read some 111 Samus Ridley Forever 2006 for the last time. Hello everyone, once again. Thank you for all the reviews that happen still from Metroid High School and the other fix. I'm glad you guys like things so much. I don't know where she gets the idea that people liked it. I mean, look at the reviews. Even the people on fanfiction.net know that this is just about the lowest of the low. So, those thanks, completely uncalled for, because, seriously, who wants to be thanked by her? Really? I had fun writing, and even though it's no Steinbeck, it's still something, right? You mean Steinbeck? As in the Steinbeck? Well, I guess the comparison could hold some ground in a way, because I honestly think that Lenny Small could have written a better fanfiction than this. Anyway, I know I said I retired, but school's almost out in where I am, so I've had an idea for a long time, and why not write it? Because it's going to suck! A lot of flamethrowers claimed Metroid High School was bad because Samus and Ridley were in real life. No. It's not the reason why people claimed Metroid High School was bad. It was because they were fucking like goddamn rabbits! It was because, well, Principal Gunpei Yokoi, Non-Teacher Motherbrain, President Gerald Ford as the ultimate badass, and crappy self-inserts that may or may not have had a relationship with a pedophiliac football coach, and horrible grammar and spelling, and I could go on and on and on. But it has nothing to do with the fact that Samus and Ridley were in so-called real life, especially since, well, it's a fanfiction, so they're not really in real life, but we're not going to get into a big philosophical discussion about the fourth wall and stuff. Let's just continue. So what if real people went to Metroid? Take that, meanies! Whatever that's supposed to mean. I guess this is sort of the entire point, in a way, that she was supposed to retire, but she went back on her word just to piss off anyone who has one brain cell, which is enough to process the fact that her writing is pure hippopotamus feces. This is 30 years after Metroid High School happened. Well, actually, as we're going to see soon, it's more like 33, 34, depending on whether Metroid High School took place in 75 or 76, because this takes place in 2009, which is when it was written. But, you know, fiction has a way of rounding numbers like that all the time, so I guess I'm going to let it slide, as much as it pains me to say so. So it's kinda like a sequel, but it's totally different too, so you don't have to read Metroid High School to understand the plotting. Thank God! Well, that's only a half-truth, because there are references to Metroid High that you just won't get unless you've read the thing. So, yeah, she's a poor liar as well. You'll have to find out and see. Anyway, this story won't be too long, and my little sister Mandy, that's where the name is, lol, is going to help me write parts too, but not bad ones, because she's a young gun, lol. So, because she's younger than you, that means she can't write as well as you do. This is what you think. Here's what I think. I think an amoeba in a primordial soup could write better fanfiction than you do. Just give it 15 minutes and it's going to write something better than you ever could in your entire life. And, you know, we never got to saw the little sister's writing, so it's fun to, you know, pretend that this whole fanfiction was stopped because she read what the little sister could write, and she realized that she was so much better than her, that she was not going to put herself through the humiliation of exposing herself as the worst writer ever, like she has, like she really needs any help to accomplish that to begin with. If you guys had ideas for things, then let me know, but here goes. How about this idea? Stop writing! Chapter 1, Tijuan Prime. So, is it Tijuan Fusion or Tijuan Prime? Whatever. Helen. Helen! Already a reference to Metroid High, so not even a single full sentence yet, and already she broke what she said about not needing to read Metroid High to know what's going on. Mexico President Tijuan woke with eclectic shocks at his desk in Mexico City. It was 30 years since he lost his girlfriend in the events, but there was bigger problems than that. It's been 3 years since he won the election for the Kremlin. Does she even know what the Kremlin is? In Soviet Mexico, Metroid cannon rips you arriba, arriba! But already it was a crisis. President Juan, the government just numbered that half the population is infected with swine flu. Yeah, way to give us a realistic scenario right off the bat. Half of the population is infected with swine flu. I mean, even the most fear-mongering propaganda that happened during the swine flu crisis didn't propose that numbers could get this high. And, of course, you can tell that this was written right in the middle of the swine flu crisis, so I guess this is sort of another attempt from hers at trying to sound like she understands current events, but, once again, failing miserably. Pablo, Tio's advisor, clued in the president to the situation. Oh, no, the president moaned like a stomachache. Stomachaches moan? Tijuan was compassionate and cared a lot about his people's feelings, so how the fuck did he get elected president? No one who has those traits can ever be president of any country, ever! So hearing that so many of them were infected with disease was not pleasing to the ear. But what can we do? He tested the waters. Pablo just shook his head. There just doesn't seem to be a cure, but we have to find one or Mexico will die. Pablo cried out with the weight of the world on his shoulders. His back was about to crack from weight, but Tio Juan was reassuring. Don't worry, my amigo. We'll find a cure. Tio Juan convinced himself more than Pablo. Somewhere. It was 8 o'clock night at Mexican time, author's note, so in American, it's just about time for lunch. Well, this proves it. She has no idea where Mexico, the neighboring country, even is. Because time for lunch, let's say it's like noon. She's assuming that it's 8 hours later in Mexico than in America. And last I checked, Mexico is, most of it at least, is in the central time zone, meaning that if you live in Chicago or Texas or places like that, well, you're right there in so-called Mexican time. But instead, it's 8 hours later? So, is she placing Mexico like all the way out in freaking Russia? Which would explain the Kremlin reference earlier. This girl, I swear. We've already established she was bad at history, politics. Now you can add geography to that too. And Tio Juan was checking in on his son Ricardo. Ricardo wasn't really Tio's son because the poor man never wanted to, with anyone except his girl Helen. I find it funny how she just goes as far as to say, when she depicted a sexual relationship with Samus and Ridley in such graphic detail, I guess she grew up some in the 3 years it took to write it. Maybe. Oh, who the fuck am I kidding? But he needed a son for presidential family pictures? This is the lamest excuse for adopting a kid that I have ever seen. Why not play the whole compassionate card once again? At least it doesn't sound like nearly as much bullshit as this. I mean, he needed a son for presidential pictures. My brain cannot wrap itself around this concept. So he adopted Ricardo and loved him quite a bit. Ricardo, I think you should stop now. A storm's blowing soon and it's dangerous. Tio forewarned the kid who was playing Super Metroid. New systems take long to come out in Mexico? Well, that's an even worse excuse than the whole he needed a son for presidential family pictures. Because it's bullshit. Super Metroid came out in 1994. This takes place and was written in 2009. So you're expecting me to believe that Mexico is so desolate, so far out of the way, that it would take 15 years for a game that came out just north of there, to the United States. And they get it 15 years later? What the fuck? I mean, maybe someone can enlighten me on this because I'm not sure of the specifics. And I don't know if I have a Mexican in the audience who could do that for me. But if I had to venture a guess, I would have to say that games and consoles come out at about the same time in Mexico as they do in the United States and Canada. So, just... I hate you so much, I'm going to find out which state you live in, and then I'm going to nuke it from orbit! After all, lightning storms are dangerous in video games, but Ricardo wasn't convinced. Screw you, Tio Juan! You are not the father! Okay, that was a joke. That's not what the fanfic says. What he really says is, "You're not a real dad!" cried Ricardo at the top of his vocal cords.